If you've ever watched a high-level game of Overwatch, you may have noticed that there's a certain level of refinement in the player's movement, aim, and game sense. And while a lot of these things are learned through lots of practice, some of the skills GM and pro players use can be learned and used by just about any player. Today we're going to look at the top 5 skills that pro players abuse. My name is Nathan, and this is Blizzard Guides. So I'm going to go over this list of tips in just a moment, but I want to let you guys know that these are things that GM and pro players have used since pretty much the start of the game. So they've refined and perfected these abilities and skills since pretty much forever. So you may not get the full usage out of them, but just make sure to keep them consciously in mind whenever you're playing your games so that you can be a better player. So with that said, let's get onto this list. So for number 5, I'm going to go over general movement spam. I'm going to go over 3 types of general movement spam that you can use to greatly improve your gameplay quality. These tips will help you to be a much harder target to hit while only having a minor effect to your aim. So the first one is just left right spamming. It's pretty simple, just spam left right whenever you're getting into a 1v1. So if I'm here at choke holding choke and the team's pushing in right here, I just want to spam left right, just making myself a harder target to hit and less likely to be headshot by a stray bullet or something like that. Or even if I'm getting focused specifically by somebody, I'm less likely to get hit. And in tandem with this, I also want to crouch spam. So let's say the team pushed in and I'm 1v1ing like a Zenyatta or something right here. So I want to also crouch. So when I'm 1v1ing, I want to crouch and I want to go for crouching like that. That way I make my hitbox move up and down and more unpredictable and more difficult to hit. So hit scan players will especially struggle with this because they'll have to predict when you're going to crouch and when you're going to strafe. So comboing it all together makes you much more difficult to hit. And lastly, you also want to jump cancel. This is useful for whenever you're trying to avoid stray fire. So let's say there's a Widow up there and I'm trying to avoid a shot from her. Instead of jumping up and down like this, the typical jumping up and down like that, I actually want to do this. So whenever I jump, I move back to where I was. All I'm doing is I'm jumping while I'm moving to the left, but then when I hit the air, I actually go the opposite direction. So if I jump, if I start jumping out to the right, I move to the left in the air, and if I start jumping out left, I move to the right in the air. It's pretty self-explanatory, but basically what this does is instead of moving in a predictable arc like that, I actually move in this weird kind of like half arc. It's weird. It makes it more difficult to predict. And at higher levels, jumping in a predictable path is just equivalent to standing still. I mean, you saw the graph, the math checks out. So just make sure that you throw some jumps in there and some cancel jumps in there. Mix it up. It makes you a more difficult target to kill and increases your overall survivability. At number 4, we have clean ultimate management. So you really want to communicate to your team what ults you're going to be using before the fight starts. So say something like, we'll use Grav Blade this fight, and if we need to, we can also use Valk or Coalescence or something like that. You really want to make sure that you don't use all of your ultimates whenever you engage on a fight, because that will make you win that fight convincingly, but it may not make you win every single fight thereafter. You really want to have good ult management and good control over your team's ultimates. And similarly, you also want to control the enemy team's ult. So this means keeping track of what ultimates the enemy team has used and what ultimates they might have. So if the Zarya is playing very aggressively, split up because it's very likely that she has Grav. Also, you might just want to use some of your ultimates to bait out the enemy's ultimate. So if you have Graviton and Pharah Barrage, but the enemy team might have a Zenyatta Transcendence, you might want to use one of your ults to just solo kill Zen so that you can get that Grav and Barrage off without having the Zenyatta using his Transcendence. At number 3, we have knockback jumping. Knockback jumping is a pretty simple ability to do. It's mechanically very easy, but it's something that will allow you to use your abilities much greater. So normally I wouldn't be able to make it up there. But as Zarya and as Soldier as well, you can actually use your right click ability to get to places that you normally wouldn't be able to. So all you have to do is look over here. So I want to get up there. So I look at the ground, I right click, and as soon as my projectile hits the ground, I spacebar. And bam, easy peasy, got up there. You can actually use this to get to a lot of different unintended locations, and it proves very useful for very many heroes. It works very similarly with Soldier. All you have to do is right click, and the only trade-off is the little bit of damage that you take, which is not a huge deal, especially on Soldier and Zarya. But what a lot of players don't know is that you can actually do this with Pharah as well. So you might ask why I would want to use Pharah's rocket jump. The jetpack works fine, but watch this. Using my regular shift, I actually only make it there, but if I look at the ground, use my primary fire and shift, so instead of jumping, I hit shift, I actually get a lot more vertical movement. So one of the questions that you might have about rocket jumping is why would you want to use it? And that actually leads me to my next point. Rocket jumping actually allows you to get to higher locations and use high ground as an effective protection barrier. So let's say that there's a McCree right over there and he's running in that direction. Well, and he's shooting at me now and I'm taking critical damage. Look at me. I'm at 40 HP and he might headshot me. All I have to do is walk backwards and bam, I have protection now. Holding high ground is something that pros abuse and I see a lot of players not use. It's something that's extremely valuable and it's something that you should use. High ground allows you three things. One, offers protection. So if there's an enemy over there, you're protected. It also allows you to see the enemy positioning. So just from here, I can see over here, I can see that bridge. I can see flankers there. I can see this path and I can see main path. And also I can come over here and see this path. I can basically see the entirety of the map from this single vantage point, so it allows you enemy positioning as well. And thirdly, let's say they have a Winston D.Va and they jump on me, bam, I'm slightly hurt but not that hurt. All I have to do is jump off high ground and bam, I'm safe. I can come back here, I can come back to point, and I'm with my team. My team's protecting me. Winston D.Va's by themselves over there, their team's over here, they're split, and we win the fight very easily. High ground control is something that pro players abuse and they use all the time, and it's something that you should learn very well as well. And lastly, it's just the use of FFA and also a game called Aim Hero. So firstly, I'm going to talk about FFA, which is just free-for-all. That's deathmatch. A lot of you probably have used it before. FFA is a really good place to learn the animations of the game so that you can better predict enemies' movements, and also is a really good place for you to just learn what movement abilities you can use and what you can get away with and what you can't. It's a great ground for experimentation without the punishment of the SR system or just quick play teams just not doing so well. The only person on your team is yourself, and so you're able to learn the game more effectively. And you don't even have to play DPS or anything like that. You can play tank and support in FFA too. You want to go to FFA strictly for the purpose of improving your mechanical ability and not for the win. So don't go expecting to get, 20 kills and 1 death. Go in there to learn the hero that you're playing and how to counter enemies and just improve your gameplay in general. And Aim Hero is a game available on Steam. It's $20, which is why I'm mentioning it last, because I know not everybody has that money to spend. I mean, I'm broke, I don't have any money. Aim Hero just allows you to strictly improve your aim, so this might just be for hit scan players, but anybody can use Aim Hero. It's a really good tool to find your perfect sensitivity because it allows you to just directly put whatever sensitivity you would use in Overwatch directly in the game. This is a really good tool and I see a lot of pros using it, so you might want to look into that if that is your sort of thing. And let's say if you don't have that money to spend, there is a good alternative called Aim Booster. I haven't personally tried it myself, but I've heard good things about it, so it's worth a try if you don't want to spend $20. Anyway, I hope these tips helped you guys out. Just remember that you're not going to master these things almost immediately. You're going to have to practice them and refine them and do it consistently. But once you start doing it consistently, you'll be a much better player in general, and it will improve your gameplay quality quite a bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to leave a like, as it really helps us know that you guys are enjoying the content. And don't forget to subscribe, as we have a lot of Overwatch League content and tips and tricks videos so that you can be the best Overwatch player that you can be. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have a nice day. My name is Nathan, and this was Blizzard Guides.